A few years ago, we were having a meeting here at ICIMOD, and I asked the owners of a small, actually family-owned aviation business in Pokhara to come give a presentation. I'm using some of the slides that were put together then. This is Aviation Club Nepal, which is a family-owned company based out of Pokhara Airport, about 200 kilometers west of Kathmandu, in a place that's very close to the mountains. And they have these two kinds of aircraft, the closed-door fixed-wing and the ultralights, about 6 aircraft, and they take people on sightseeing flights with basically 1 pilot and 1 passenger in each. They're exciting flights, relatively affordable for a private tour, and so tourists like to go on these flights. But this is a business that basically can only work if there's good visibility. This is a chart. This is from 2012. In the monsoon in July and August they don't operate. In September they start operating again. And so the number of flight hours is dependent on how many tourists are there who want to fly with them, but also somewhat dependent on visibility. So this is the kind of flights they do in good weather in October, November. In February, March, it often tends to be much hazier. For people to be able to see the mountains, they have to fly higher up, so it costs them more fuel to do that, and the flights have to be longer. And they charge per flight per flight duration for the people, so it ends up being more expensive, but you can still see the mountains from higher up. Some days there's a mix of clouds and haze, but then since 2009 and 10 in Pokhara, we've had an instrument that measures aerosol optical depth. That's a chart that came out of that instrument. Basically, aerosol optical depth is a measure of how thick the haze is. When you were in Nagarkot, you couldn't see down into the valley anymore. Usually about an optical depth of 1 or 1.5, 2-ish or so would be what you were experiencing then from Nagarkot. These are measurements with different at different wavelengths, and the optical depth depends a bit on different wavelengths. So ignore the units, just look at, okay, this is times with very high optical depth, this days also. Here it was low. These were clear days, and these were days that were very hazy. And for the same month, I got the number of flight hours they operated and the cancellations they had, where people had pre-booked a flight a day or two before and canceled. You see here, the green is the flights they operated, flight hours they operated, and red is flight hours that got cancelled, that had already been booked, paid for. They had to give refunds to people because they couldn't fly. And you see where the cancellations took place. It took place in the time where there was a haze. So for one small family-owned business, there was a very direct loss. I think the flight hour per flight hour cost is about $200 or so, for 20,000 Nepali rupees. And so you can just add up the losses here. Of course, once you go into several days of hazy weather, people are not booking anymore. So there's the flights that got cancelled that were pre-booked, and then there's the passengers who didn't show up anymore because they look out and, well, what's the point in flying in this? Right? So and a lot of the flights actually only get booked a day or two before, because people are in Pokhara for 2 or 3 days. They see the advertisement boards and think, well, this might be interesting. They go and book a flight and go on these flights. So if you look at when they actually operated the flights and when they cancelled, and come up with, if they had, what was the clear day average and what's the loss, you can come up with a dollar value and a few $1,000s just for that 1 month for one company. And so it really has gotten us thinking about what's the loss to a whole city, to a town, to a place like Nagarkot with 40, 50 hotels. And what Nagarkot sells is sunrise over Mount Everest, which you were not able to see. That's the reason for the existence of the hotels up there, because there's a view towards Mount Everest. There are other places like that in Pakistan, in India, in Nepal, in China, where the primary reason people come to stay overnight somewhere is for mountain views or for sunrise views, sunrise over Kanchenjunga from Darjeeling, and of course, it's not only the owners of the hotels who may be living in the city whose income is affected, but they provide large numbers of jobs to local people in the area. Whole livelihoods depend on on tourism income. And so there's a direct economic cost for hazy weather happens. People cancel their plans. The hotels or the business may already have made preparations. Then there's the loss because if people don't enjoy the experience, they might not come back again. People have been asking, okay, where's the data? What kind of data do we have? And here's this one example. I can probably talk them into giving us newer data from this year. And this is the AirNet data from these instruments is online available for wherever there are instruments. And I can help you find data like that later when you're doing a story. It's a proxy for visibility. Of course, having airport visibility data tells you how many meters of visibility there is. Might even be better, but at least here's a proxy for how thick the haze is. So I don't have a very long presentation. I maybe want to show this, and then we have an interactive discussion. But so
that's it.
To ask
okay.
questions or comments.